You know exactly what you need to do. You've known for months, maybe years. The thing that sits at the back of your mind with a quiet persistence that never fully goes away. The project, the conversation, the change, the version of your life that keeps not beginning. And you've explained it the same way most people do, that you're waiting for the right time, the right circumstances, the right version of yourself that's finally ready. But here's what's actually happening. You're not waiting for the right time. You're waiting for the guarantee, and it isn't coming. Here's what the psychology shows. Not starting isn't passive. It's a decision. One made so consistently and so quietly that it stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like a condition. Something that's simply true about you rather than something you keep choosing. But it's a choice, and it's protecting something specific. Psychologists who study behavioral avoidance identify a pattern at the core of chronic not starting that has nothing to do with laziness or lack of motivation. It has to do with identity. Because starting something real, something that matters, something you actually care about, does something that not starting never does. It produces evidence. The person who never starts remains in their own mind someone of unlimited potential. The novel could be brilliant, the business could succeed, the difficult conversation could change everything. None of those outcomes can be disproven because none of them have been attempted. Not starting is the only strategy that keeps every possibility permanently open. Psychologists call this self-concept protection, the unconscious preservation of an idealized self-image by avoiding the evidence that would test it. And here's what makes it so hard to recognize. It feels like preparation, the research you're still doing, the conditions you're still waiting on, the version of yourself you're still becoming. All of it feels like the responsible work of someone who takes things seriously enough to get them right. But preparation without a start date isn't preparation. It's the most sophisticated form of not trying, because you can't fail something you never attempt. And you can't discover the limits of your potential if you never produce anything for those limits to show up in. The not starting isn't protecting your future. It's protecting the story, the one where you're still capable of everything, because you haven't yet tried anything. And that story gets more expensive the longer it runs, not in dramatic ways, in quiet ones. Another year where the thing still hasn't begun. Another conversation with yourself about why now isn't quite right. Another version of your future self inheriting the same unstarted thing from the version before. Until the potential that felt like a gift starts feeling like a weight, something you're carrying rather than using. So here's the question worth sitting with. What would you start tomorrow if you knew the outcome didn't have to be perfect? Not good enough to show anyone. Not successful enough to justify the attempt. Just started. Just real. Just existing in the world rather than in your head. Because the gap between who you are and who you're capable of being isn't closed by thinking. It's closed by the specific, irreversible act of beginning. And the right time was always going to be the moment you stopped waiting for it. If the thing you need to start came to mind before you finished reading this, that's not a coincidence. That's the only signal you are ever going to get.